Most people think they understand big cities. New York feels huge, Los Angeles feels endless. But some cities in Asia are 5, even 10 times larger. Not countries, not regions. Single urban areas where tens of millions of people wake up every day and try to live their lives. Here's what makes it surprising. They're not always the richest or the most famous. Some are still growing fast. Others are already shrinking and remain massive. So how does a city reach that scale? And what does life look like when an entire population is compressed into one continuous urban space? In this video, we're counting down the top 10 largest cities in Asia by population, based on the urban regions where people actually live. Let's start with number 10. Number 10, Seoul, South Korea. Seoul doesn't look like a city that should still be growing. South Korea has one of the lowest birth rates in the world, and many rural towns are slowly losing people. Yet Seoul remains home to around 21 to 22 million residents, nearly half of the entire country concentrated into one urban region. This isn't a story of population boom, it's a story of gravity. For decades, Seoul has pulled people inward. The strongest universities, the largest employers, the entertainment industry, and political power all sit within reach of the same subway map. Many people arrive in their early 20s for school or work, planning to stay a few years. Most stay much longer. That pressure shapes daily life. High-rise apartments packed tightly together, commutes that regularly stretch past an hour. Subway lines running from early morning to late night, carrying millions of routines layered on top of one another. What makes Seoul remarkable isn't just how big it is, but how it stays big while the country around it shrinks. The lesson here is simple. Cities don't only grow because more people are born. Sometimes they grow because opportunity refuses to spread out. And that idea sets up the next city perfectly. A capital that has chosen a very different path by actively trying to limit its own size. Number 9, Beijing, China. Beijing's size is not an accident, but what's more interesting is that it's no longer a goal. With roughly 19 to 20 million people, Beijing remains one of Asia's largest cities. Yet unlike most megacities, this one is not trying to grow faster. In fact, it's doing the opposite. Over the past decade, China has treated Beijing less like a magnet and more like a pressure valve. Factories have been moved out, universities relocated, government offices shifted to nearby cities. Entire neighborhoods were redesigned with one question in mind: how many people is too many? For residents, this control is visible in everyday life. Strict residency permits, limits on car registrations, housing policies that quietly decide who can stay close and who must live farther out. Beijing is still powerful, still dense, still deeply influential. But its size today comes from history, not momentum. It carries centuries of political weight and now very modern limits. And as we move to number 8, we'll see what happens when growth doesn't stop at city borders at all, but spills outward until multiple cities begin to function as one. Number 8, Guangzhou, Foshan, China. Guangzhou doesn't announce itself as one of Asia's largest cities. There's no single skyline that tells the whole story. Instead, its size reveals itself slowly through movement. Around 20 to 21 million people live across Guangzhou and Foshan, two cities that over time have grown so close they now function as one. People wake up in one city, work in another, shop somewhere in between, often without noticing when they've crossed an invisible line. This region sits at the heart of the Pearl River Delta, one of the world's most productive manufacturing zones. Factories, logistics hubs, and export businesses stretch outward, pulling workers from surrounding provinces year after year. Growth here doesn't stack upward in one place, it spreads sideways. The future of megacities may not be a single giant downtown, but networks of cities quietly stitched together by highways, rail lines, and daily routines. And when that kind of expansion happens without enough space to breathe, the result looks very different, especially in cities built on density rather than distance. Number 7, Manila, Philippines. Manila's size isn't defined by how far it stretches, but by how tightly it holds people together. With roughly 23 million residents in the metro area, Manila is one of the most densely populated urban regions on Earth. Here, space is not a luxury, it's a daily negotiation. Families share small apartments across generations. Street vendors, motorbikes, buses, and pedestrians move through the same narrow corridors. Traffic doesn't just slow life down, it becomes part of the rhythm of the city. What keeps Manila growing isn't comfort but necessity. Jobs, education, healthcare, they're concentrated here, drawing people from islands and provinces with fewer options. Even when life is difficult, leaving often feels harder. Number 6. Mumbai, India. Mumbai grows in a different way. Not outward and not evenly, but inward, compressed between land and sea. With around 23 to 24 million people, Mumbai is one of the densest large cities in Asia. Unlike many megacities, it cannot easily expand. On one side is the Arabian Sea. On the other, already developed suburbs and infrastructure limits. This physical constraint shapes daily life. Trains carry millions every morning, packed far beyond their intended capacity. Homes stack people vertically, often sharing space across generations. A short distance can take hours to cross. What makes Mumbai especially complex is contrast. Some of the most expensive real estate in the country sits only blocks away from informal settlements where space is measured in steps, not rooms. Both realities exist within the same city grid, operating side by side. Density becomes a condition of survival rather than a choice. Number 5. Shanghai, China. Shanghai's scale feels different. It is large, but it rarely feels crowded in the same way. Home to roughly 26 to 29 million people, Shanghai has grown through steady internal migration rather than sudden population surges. People arrive from across China, often for work, often temporarily, and often with plans that change over time. The city reflects that flow: wide roads, layered transit systems, neighborhoods built, rebuilt, and repurposed within a single generation. Shanghai doesn't hold people tightly, it moves them efficiently. What stands out is balance. Despite its size, the city functions with relative order. Growth here is managed, regulated, and constantly adjusted as costs rise and opportunities shift elsewhere. Shanghai offers a different insight. A city can become enormous not by holding everyone forever, but by staying useful long enough for millions to pass through. Its scale is not just about how many people live there, but how many lives move through it. Number 4. Delhi, India. Delhi is a city that never quite finishes growing. With around 30 million people, it continues to absorb new residents faster than its systems can adjust. Much of this growth comes from movement rather than birth. People arrive from smaller towns and villages, drawn by work, education, and access to services that are harder to find elsewhere. Each arrival adds another layer to a city already carrying centuries of history. Daily life reflects this constant catch-up. Roads fill faster than they can be expanded. Water and air become shared concerns rather than private ones. Housing spreads outward in every available direction, often faster than planning can follow. Delhi's scale is not defined by a single center. It stretches across old neighborhoods, new developments, and informal settlements that exist side by side, each responding differently to the same pressures. Delhi's story is not about failure or success. It is about momentum, a city moving forward while still assembling the tools to support itself. Number 3. Tokyo, Japan. Tokyo's size carries an unusual tension. With an urban region of 33 to 38 million people, it remains the largest metropolitan area on Earth, even as the country around it grows older and smaller. This is not growth driven by expansion. It is the result of decades of careful organization. Rail networks that shape neighborhoods, zoning that keeps daily life within reach. A system built to handle scale without chaos. What's changing now is not the city's structure but its direction. Population growth has slowed, some neighborhoods are aging, the pace feels steadier, less urgent. Tokyo shows that size does not always demand more. Sometimes it requires maintenance, adjustment, and patience. Its future is not about becoming bigger, but about learning how to remain functional at a scale few cities have ever reached. Number 2. Dhaka, Bangladesh. Dhaka expands through motion. With roughly 36 to 37 million people, the city continues to take in new residents at a pace few places can match. Most of this growth comes from people leaving vulnerable rural areas, searching for stability in manufacturing, services, and informal work. The garment industry, in particular, pulls millions into the city, tying daily life to global supply chains that stretch far beyond Bangladesh. Dhaka's scale is felt in close quarters. Housing adapts quickly, often without formal planning. Streets become shared spaces where walking, selling, and commuting overlap. The city adjusts day by day rather than through long-term design. Dhaka represents a city still forming itself. Its size is not a finished outcome, but an ongoing process shaped by necessity more than intention. Number 1. Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta's growth has reached a point of consequence. Home to approximately 41 to 42 million people, it is the largest urban agglomeration in Asia. The city's expansion has been driven by opportunity, centralization, and decades of inward migration. Over time, those forces have placed increasing strain on the land itself. Parts of the city are slowly sinking, the result of groundwater use and development layered on fragile ground. Life in Jakarta continues within these constraints. Traffic defines daily schedules, flooding shapes neighborhoods. The city adapts as it goes, even as its physical limits become more visible. Jakarta stands as a reminder that size alone is not the end of the story. Every city, no matter how large, eventually has to reckon with the space it occupies and the ground beneath it. When we talk about the world's largest cities, it's easy to focus on numbers. Millions of people, endless neighborhoods, maps that seem to stretch forever. But behind every number is a pattern movement toward opportunity, pressure on space, and cities constantly adjusting to forces larger than themselves. Some grow by pulling everything inward. Some spread outward until borders disappear. Some reach a point where size itself becomes a question. These cities are not just big. They are living systems shaped by choices, limits, and time. And as the world continues to urbanize, the story of megacities isn't finished yet. It's still unfolding quietly every day. If this video gave you a new way to think about cities, feel free to share it and let us know in the comments which city surprised you the most. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.